First of all, I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. My name is Ryan Komogome, part of the Big Island Sports Hall of Fame. And I've been a friend of Timmy since we were, I want to say like 9 or 10 years old. So I've known him for 30 plus years. We grew up together playing sports. Really thankful to have Timmy and his wife Sherry come out to the Big Island to spend their weekend with us. And this is really a talk story session. So, Timmy will talk a little bit about his journey from his career as a player, as a coach, and raising a family here in Hawaii. And then we want to open it up to you guys to ask any questions that are on your mind. So, opportunity for Hilo to talk to Timmy. So I want to call up Timmy and Sherry. Thank you for being with us. Come on up on stage. All right, so we're gonna get started. We're just asking Timmy kind of to talk about his journey. Like, you started here growing up in Hawaii, your playing days, coaching days, transitioning and finding yourself back here. So if you can kind of give people that full story. I think people probably know bits and pieces of it, but hearing from you would be great.
Let's get a Cliff Notes version of this story a little bit. It's full circle to be to have this day named after me. I'm very humbled as a local boy born and raised on Oahu, Hawaii. I used to spend my Christmases up here with my auntie Elaine Searle and Theodore Pump Searle, right back in Waikea, and those are some of my favorite times of my life as a kid growing up. And Hilo was it. And to now be here full circle, very and truly honored and blessed. My dad was an educator in the DOE system. He worked his way up from a PE teacher to a vice principal at some of the worst schools on Oahu, and then eventually became a principal. My mom worked for Hawaiian Airlines for 30 plus years, but sports has played a big role in my life. I think from my father, he was an official as well as a coach, a basketball coach, so basketball was my first love. I ended up being at a school called St. Louis High School, and it's I quickly realized that basketball wasn't going to be my route. I quickly realized football was going to be it. And I was very blessed to have a coach named Vinny Passes and Coach Calvi and Coach Ronley as mentors. I didn't even try out for quarterback. I tried out for a defensive back, believe it or not. But because I played baseball and I played basketball in my life, one of my PE teachers saw a little something in me that could play quarterback. And so I just kind of stuck it out. I stuck it out through quarterback, and I was trained by, in my opinion, one of the best quarterback coaches in Vinny Passes. Vinny's unbelievable. Yes. And so, from there, I just played. I love playing. My parents weren't rich by any means, and so sports was going to be my way to go to college. I saw my sister go to UCLA, and she got 3 master's degrees and a doctorate, and she's still paying off those bills right now. God bless her. She's in the DOE system, and she followed my dad all the way through. And I knew that wasn't the route for me. I knew if I was gonna make it, and it was gonna be through sports. And so, really deep down, I had just a mindset of wanting to just be the best. In all honesty, and that was just me. And if you ask, a lot of the guys that are very successful, there's just something that if you study those guys, there's just something that triggers them that's a little bit different than others. The sacrifice, the drive, the want to, the failure, get back up, fail, you get back up. It doesn't matter how many times you fail, you're just gonna kind of keep rolling because failure is just part of it. And so that's kind of been my journey. The biggest thing is what I sell to recruits, especially the Hawaii boys, is that when I was 18 years old, I made a decision to stay home, and it's the biggest decision that I've ever made. And the reason why is because I wanted to raise my family one day here in these islands. I wanted them to be a part of a culture or something special. I didn't know what that meant at that time at 18 years old, but I played in this run and shoot offense from Cowley and Romney, and just so happened in my senior year in 1999, June Jones comes in, and he's like the only other coach running run and shoot. And so for me, like, I've been in a system at St. Louis that's been so successful that it was just really easy, seamless turnover. Like, man, I'm gonna go to UH, and I don't know what that means, but I'm gonna have an opportunity to play and represent my culture, the state that I live in, the state that I love so much, and I can live here one day. 20 years later from making that decision, I am now the head coach of the University of Hawaii. And so, it's a blessing. It's an honor. It's something that I don't take lightly. There's no dollar value amount on this deal. This is about us building this thing correctly, doing it right, and whoever takes over after me, I just hope that I leave a foundation that they can surpass. I look at Cole Brennan, the late Cole Brennan, and how special he was, and all we wanted to do, and from 2000 to 2004, was just lay a foundation down that the next guys that took over from, he did him and his teammates did an unbelievable job from 2005, 6, and 7 on just taking this state on one of the best rides we've ever been on in college football, and that's how I feel. It's like I'm here to lay I'm that ground rebar, that guy that goes in and lays the foundation down, and I know my role, and that's for someone to come in and just take this thing off and build some consistency and just do things the right way. And so the right way to me though is really Ryan, my childhood friend, inviting me out here and being I feel like this football team represents something bigger than just the University of Hawaii at Manoa. This is the state's team, and so that's why it's so important for me and even my players and my other coaches to come and reach out and be here. One thing that really bothered me when I got home was I didn't understand that we didn't get all the games on TV. Like the whole state's not watching like how we used to watch it. I mean, okay, you guys think I'm lying. I watched in Hilo, in that house in Waikea, I watched AC Carter them in December beat who we just retired to Jersey, who beat Kansas right in that house up there, and we all watched it, and that's what I remember. Everybody could watch these games, and so Matt Elliott, our AD, unbelievable job he has done and just embraced as well, and he's a visionary, and I'm gonna be a good soldier and follow right behind him. But he allowed to open that up back to all the islands, and in my whole thing is that you guys, we want you to be a part of it. The Big Island, Maui, Kauai, Niihau, everybody in between, Lanai, and not just Oahu, but everybody be a part of this thing. So that's why I'm here, and I'm big in my faith in my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Okay.
Hallelujah.
Yes, sir. And when I was third grade, fourth grade, I wrote down I want to be a professional athlete. I don't care if it was baseball, basketball. I didn't even play football at that. I want to be a professional athlete. Well, God had other plans. The timing was off. We were all in shotgun in 2000, 2001, 2, 3, and 4. When I got to the draft, the NFL said, "Oh, he's only a shotgun. He's a shotgun quarterback. He doesn't know how to go underneath the center." Well, you fast forward now, they're all in shotgun. You know what I mean? And so I think that I was just ahead of my time. That's all I thought I was. It was just a knock. It wasn't. I was a shotgun quarterback, a pocket quarterback. That's not what the NFL was made for at that time. So it brought me to being a journeyman. I was in places I was a free agent at Arizona. And 1 year I was in Arizona. I was in Detroit, and I was at just those two. Sorry, just those two. And I was in New Orleans before Katrina. And it was in 2000. It was in 2005. And then I tried to get on. I went to NFL Europe, tried to get on. Talk about getting knocked down. Come back to Philadelphia. I'm trying to make the team. I get to the last cut. Don't make the team. And so I had to go another route. And so I went to Canada. And because I went to Canada in my second year, I met my beautiful wife. And it was a preseason game. And it was in her hometown of Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, which is right above Buffalo, below Toronto. And she was serving, and at that night, and I got lucky. This is, and so I'll hand it over to my beautiful wife, Sherry.
I just want to say thank you to Jerry and everybody and Ryan for putting this together. Like, this is so special to us. Like, everyone just take the time out of your day to come and listen to what we have to say. But yeah, so I was a baby, 21 years old. I was a server at a restaurant, like he said, from Hamilton, Ontario. I know I look local, I get that a lot, but I'm born and raised in Canada. So he was playing for the CFL at the time for Hamilton Ticats. He had come in with his football team, and I was just serving them. And I mean, he's the only Asian guy on the table, so I thought he was like the accountant. I did not think he was playing on the team, but yeah. And then we just really hit it off. He was a complete gentleman, what they say on Oahu, the St. Louis Crusader gentleman here. My parents are first generation Chinese, born in Vietnam, but ended up in Canada, and so our values, the way we grew up, the foods we ate were very similar to how it is here in Hawaii. So that was something that, we both had in common, and it really just hit out. But yeah, from there on, we just went on the coaching. We moved back to Hawaii for a few months, and then we started the coaching journey. So I've only known him as a coach, really. And then we have 5 kids now. And it's been 18 years. Yeah.
So Sherry, if I can ask, since you met Timmy in Canada, didn't know much about him, when did you figure out that he's a celebrity locally?
No, so like I said, I thought he was the accountant. So I had no idea anything he had done. I didn't know, he kept that to himself. So he didn't tell me any of his accolades, what he's done in college or any of that. I didn't hear about it until maybe we were dating for about 7 months. We flew out to Vegas, and that was when I really found out, because that's when local people were stopping him for pictures and autographs, and I was like, oh, what's going on? Like, he must be a really big accountant out here. But we were with his best friends, and his best friends kind of filled me in, and from there on, I still didn't really hit me until I think later on down the road, he would start telling me stories and things. So I didn't know, and I think for him, he always says it's kind of a breath of fresh air, because he could have just been himself, and I didn't know any of his history and stuff. So yeah, it started. Yeah, we were like best friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. And so after that, then obviously you become a coach's wife, and that takes you all over the country.
Yeah.
So what are some of the stops that you guys had on your way before getting to Hawaii, and what were some of the best and worst stops along the way?
Yeah, so we actually started here in Hawaii. He actually helped Rod York at Mililani High School, help him put in the offense there. And then actually just 3 months later, June Jones had called. June Jones was at SMU at the time. He had called and asked if he wanted to be a grad assistant. So we just moved out there with just 2 suitcases and making, I think it was like $1,500 at a time, a stipend per month. And so we went on food stamps. We had, I think at that time we had 1 baby and 1 on the way. So we were trying to make ends meet on food stamps. $1,500. He was still going to school as well as grad assisting on the staff. And so yeah, it was rough. But I think that's made us who we are, and appreciate everything we have now. And so we did that for 2 years. And then we went to Jackson, Mississippi, and with this job, you just never know. You kind of just have to roll with how it goes. And so we ended up in Jackson, Mississippi. That was definitely a culture shock. We're the only Asians in town, I think. And we were there for another 2 years. We ended up in Virginia actually a funny story. Craig Stutzman was actually the OC at a D3 school there at Emory and Henry. And him and Rolo had just gotten the job here in Hawaii. So they actually called Timmy, asked if he wanted to take his spot. So we actually moved into their exact home, took his exact OC position there. And we were there for a short while, like 9 months. And then we ended up in Reno, Nevada, where we were there for 5 years. And then, Reno, Nevada, our whole entire staff took the job at Colorado State. And we were only there for maybe 3 weeks. And we ended up getting the job here in Hawaii. So yeah, en route to Colorado, we already had our house packed up. We quickly just diverted everything to Hawaii here. Yeah. It's a whirlwind. It's a whirlwind.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. It's definitely tough to not know year by year kind of where you're going to go.
Yeah.
So now that you're back here, Timmy, back home in Hawaii, I think everybody here is like, we don't have a stadium, NIL nowadays. Like a lot of people focus on stuff we don't have. I love your attitude about you just gotta focus on the stuff that you do have and what you have to sell. So like, what are the top things that you sell to local recruits and like recruits from the mainland?
Yeah, I think that's the main focus is, can't focus on the things that we don't have, right? But in Hawaii, there's so many strengths that we do. The culture and the family values are there. You don't get them anywhere else in the world. You don't get that aloha spirit. You don't get that. We're gonna hanai. We're gonna take people in. We're gonna care for people. We're gonna be kind to people that we don't know. We're gonna protect people when we see wrong is being done. And those are some of the more refreshing things that mainland boys are attracted to, because when they come here they feel our coaching staff, and it's something that plays for us. But I truly love, and the culture and foundation that our locker room is built on is the Hawaii boys. The Hawaii boys. It has to be the Hawaii boys. Their roots, their love. They play from their heart. If they love you, they're gonna give it. They're gonna run through a wall for you. And the thing about it is that they are so talented. In football, we are talent rich. We're a talent rich state. You can go to all the different islands. I mean, I just talked to the quarterback from Hilo right here, and that's special to me. And I'm trying to get one from every island and maybe every public school if I can, because that's what it's about. But the Hawaii boys are different, and they're tough. They're gonna hit you, but they're gonna love you at the same time. Yeah. And really, that's what our program is built off of. It's built off of love. But when it comes down to it, we're gonna have each other's back, and we're gonna be tough in doing it. And so, that's what we care about. For us, monetary is in this day and age of college athletics, monetary is second. It has to be about our values, about who we are as people, and what we're developing into young men.
So I just want to remind folks, if you have questions, feel free to write them down on a notepad. So soon we're going to get to the Q&A part. I have some filler questions, but I'd love to hear from the crowd and get everybody's questions answered. So, Jerry, I don't know if there's somebody going. We got questions? All right. We'll take them as we have. Aloha, Coach Timmy. Please tell us the most important traits you look for in those that you choose to lead with you.
Yeah, I think loyalty, unselfishness, and then a willingness to learn and want to get better. I think there has to be growth. I think even with us our coaching staff, Dave Matlin and Dave Lasner took a shot on me. Like you heard our journey. We're coaching at a D3. We're coaching at a 1AA in Mississippi. I was an assistant coach for 5 years, and all of a sudden, Dave wants to hire me. And it's one thing that you inherit. When you inherit the job, you got to figure it out. And you have to have a growth mindset. And so, and any problems start to come your way. I used to think about, oh man, road's coming down. Any kind of information, whether it's good or bad, and guess what? It's just information. And so you got to keep figuring out and keep problem solving and just keep trying to get better and trying to learn from your mistakes and learn from what you do. I look at our team now. You look at 9-4. I talk to them about the 5 and 7s, the 5 and 8, the 3 and 9, about where we were then to where we are now, and why we don't go back to what we did, because we're learning from what we did in the past. And so it's definitely a growth mindset. Loyalty is huge, and then unselfishness, right? Because for me, that's the biggest thing. I'm like you guys. I'm gonna give the shirt off my back to these kids and to my coaches, and I'm gonna give them everything. And everything I ask for, it's not for me or my family. It's for the guys. And so we want to lay it down for each other. And
like you talked about, your team is based on community and being Hawaii's team. You guys definitely live it. I know you guys were recently in the North Shore helping the cleanup there from the floods. You guys are in the community at elementary schools doing football camps. Talk a little bit about kind of like your community efforts and why it's so important.
Sure. I think from day one, when we got on the job, even as we're not winning, I think it's important that that the community sees us, and really like I told you about, just it broke my heart that not the whole state didn't get to watch UH sports, not just UH football, but just we couldn't watch it on TV, and not everybody got it, and it really broke my heart. But for me, I remember the UH athletes, and I looked at them as heroes. And so when I saw them on TV, then I saw them on person, I was like, oh my gosh, that's my hero. That's Alika Smith, that's so-and-so, that's, I met Franz Ewan the other day. I saw, Jason Elam came to our game at Colorado State. No one ever seen Jason Elam after he kicked field goals here. No one ever saw Jason Elam. And so he came down to see Tokyo Toe at Colorado State, and I was amazed. And I still remember those days. So the importance of our youth and our keikis, just seeing me, the coaches, and our guys, or I look at it as like, man, I got 105 strong guys, that can move a lot of weight and move and be productive. Like tomorrow, Coach Chris Brown is going to take those guys to plant ulu trees, and he tells them that they're going to plant ulu trees. Really, they're going to go landscape the ground. Somebody else is going to plant the ulu tree. They're going to be digging dirt and trees and stuff, But that's what it's about. That's what it's about. The Makaha Beach needed a cleanup. If you had my boys all 105 out here, and you guys had something to move, my guys would be all in, jumping all in. But that's what it's about. And so, the guys get reminded in there. My coaches get reminded that they're a representation of our culture, right? And so when they're out there in the community, when they're out there talking to locals, when they're out, then they gotta hold the highest standards, right? And again, the winning will come if you do it correctly. But the main thing is that these guys have the highest of standards. We put God first, or God in the middle, and everything else centers around that. And we try to do it every day and be consistent.
All right, I'm gonna switch gears a little bit to Sherry. Sherry, I know, you're an awesome coach's wife, and you also do things to help grow the fan base. So you can talk a little bit about your sisterhood initiative and how you're trying to bring women into the fan base. So it's not just a men's only type of sport, right?
So for those of you who don't know, we created an event that we host every year at our stadium in Oahu called the Sisterhood Social, and it's essentially like an all-women's football clinic. All of our coaches and our players are in attendance, and so we do it right before kickoff. So it's like a big kickoff event for us, but we cap it at about 300 women. All participants that come in get a goodie bag full of swag. We have all you can eat, all you can drink, and then they kind of go on a facility tour. We let them go through our locker rooms, the weight rooms, and then they go into Chalk Talk with our coaches, learn a little bit about football, and then we end up on the field and we do drills with them. And so, by that time they're like 10 drinks deep, so it's a fun night. But we look. That's something we look forward to every year. So all you men, you're gonna hold down the fort next year. This coming August, let your women come fly in for the night. But it's a fun time. The coaches really get into it. Our players get into it, and it's really to build, just to create more inclusiveness for the women and help them engage more with the football and learn football and just feel more comfortable and confident in coming into the games and changing their game day experience. And so, and in my opinion, I think the women are the heartbeat of our community and our families. And so when they feel comfortable and they want to come to the games, they're going to go home and tell their kids, their husbands, their children, they're going to bring them and want to cheer on our players, And so something special for me from this event, we're going on our 5th year doing it now, is I watch these women come and they don't know anything about football, but they come and they get to know our players, they get to know our coaches, and they have a reason, they're more invested, they have a reason to come to our games and cheer on these players, and they've turned into fans, and they become season ticket holders now. And so that's something special for me to see, is watching our fan base grow in that way. And also it's a good cause because it is a fundraiser. All of our funding that we gain from this goes to our team's nutrition fund. And so I think in the last 4 years, we've been able to raise close to $300,000. And so that's been able to provide 2 to 3 meals a day for our team, snacks, protein shakes, fruits, all that they need. So it's a good cause and a fun night for the women. So if you come down this year, August 15th.
Amazing. All right, we got some questions from the crowd. So, Timmy, first question. People see the highlights and the great moments, but what has been the most frustrating moment in this journey?
I would say the most frustrating, not frustrating, okay? Their problems are issues are issues, problems are problems. It's depending on how you look at them, right? I think the biggest task right now for me is to change the perception of what the H means. You know, and I love our Vulcans. Yeah, I love hearing Iran come up here, Iran and Rich talk about what kind of environment is created when these guys come over here and play in Hilo. And I laugh because I'm like, that's how it's supposed to be. You walk into hostile territory. But for football, you know, the biggest challenge is to change the perception what that H is. You know, forget the money. Forget, you know, Oregon's money, Ohio State's money, Miami, University of Miami's money. But the H, you know, that H represents, this football team represents something bigger. And to change the perception of that, because when you watch us down at 21-0, you know, on national television, and you're sitting and you're getting ready to eat some good grinds, and the family's all around, and it is such a great time. The December in Hawaii is like no other. And so, you know, when you're watching us play and you're 21 down, and it's like, don't worry, we do this, stay on track, right? It's just like a problem. Stay on track. Yeah, stop the run. Knock out the run, and let's go take care of the rest of the thing. Hey, offense is just one at a time. Bang, bang, bang. And so for us, you know, when the state feels good, that's what it's all about. And that H and that team, our team, symbolizes that. So when we see our team and we match our team up, just like we do in everything else, we match our islands up to the rest of the states and the rest of the country, we're like, man, we can go. And that's what I want that's the perception I want. That's the ideology that I want for the UH sports. Is like, man, we can go and we can play with these guys, and we can, you know, we can. And so, you know, when I tell the local boys, you know, and they all have to make choices in leaving and staying, I just say, hey, this is what I did as an 18-year-old, you know, and this was what happened. But whether they choose to stay, we choose to go. We love them. But it's all about the H, and it's all about Hawaii. And so I drew a line in the sand a long time ago, as you guys can see. It's us versus everybody else. So, but it's us that, you know, that's just how I feel, and that's it's not the frustration, but it's the mentality.
How are we going to look in the trenches this year? The O-line and D-line lost a lot of starters from last year, so what's the new batch of guys looking like?
Yeah, good question. You know, there's a saying, the transfer portal giveth, and the transfer portal taketh, but the transfer portal also giveth. And so it goes two ways. And you know, where areas where we lack experience, we will try to get experience. Other areas that we you know, that we can try to get better. You know, we have developmental guys that are coming in, and it's about to be their turn. You know, we just assess our guys and where they're at and where they are in the development. So O-line, you know, we got 3 guys coming back, and there's 2 new positions that need to be filled in. One of the guys in that position, though, has played a lot of reps. The other guy is going to be a little bit new, so they're, you know, those are finger crossed type of things. But we said that about the other guy the year before, finger crossed on the type of things, and he ended up being pretty good. And so, you know, that's our O-line. And then on D-line, you know, Coach Reinbold, who you guys are maybe familiar with, he loves the Big Island. I mean, he loves your guys' waves. I mean, he's always in the water. But you know, he left to Canada to coach at Ottawa. And so those are big shoes to fill. But we think we got enough guys in the trenches, defensive end and defensive tackle wise, reloading up to compete behind the Mountain West. And so it's all about getting those guys comfortable and getting them trained well, and they're working really hard. And Monday through Friday, they're there 5:55 in the morning, and so these guys are working hard.
All right, thank you for that question. It's a great question. We're just talking about this before we came to the event tonight, about your daughter. So this is related to that. Have you seen any girls flag football games? And are you doing any clinics for them?
Oh man, so good. That's such a great question. So we have 5 kids. We have a 15-year-old daughter. Okay, I have 3 boys, 13, 10, and 8, and then I have a 5-year-old daughter that runs the house. Okay, the 13, 10, 8, and 5, they love sports. My 15-year-old, she's like in January, oh, Daddy, I think I'm gonna go for football. Oh, Daddy, I think I'm gonna, never played a sport. Never played a sport. I think I'm gonna go play quarterback. I'm like, oh, shoot, okay. And so you can imagine, I'm giving her like these notes and these, okay, we're gonna read the corner, we're gonna read the safety, we're gonna figure it out. Okay, give me a playbook. Tell Coach, give me a playbook. Bring the defense, let's look at these, let's break it all down, okay? So I watched one game. I saw the rusher 1 yard away. I was like, okay, forget that. I'm like, forget that. You didn't know where the rushers are. And so it is full funny. I mean, I give praise. I give praise to their coaches and so much credit to those girls. And they're so good, man. They're so talented. And I love it, absolutely love it, because it raises football. It gets them all enjoying. And girls always be, how come I can't play football? But now this is their opportunity to shine out there. And so very, very, very happy and pleased. And for clinics, I want to bring my coaches down. Okay, I want to bring my coaches down and maybe a couple players. And it won't be a whole full staff of 130 players and coaches, but a group of coaches and players that we can come down and then and try to figure out if we can get here to the Big Island and just run some clinics and do some stuff for a day. We would love that.
I think there's some guys in the crowd who can make it happen.
Yeah.
All right, next question. What can you do to prepare our Hawaii boys for college admissions, grades, and SATs?
Yeah, there's so much that plays into that, yeah. Because you guys are all walking in different shoes and different lives, and they're being raised different ways, even when they come to us at 18 years old, they're not all set yet, right? There's I call it the light bulb turning on. And we're just on their time, right? 18, they come to us, not making good choices. I gotta run them a little extra. I gotta do a little bit of this. You know what I mean? And just keep. We talk about a bank of love, but we gotta take out of that bank of love sometimes and put into them. You know what I mean? But I don't know how to help individually, how to help admissions and all these other things. But all these kids are in different walks of life, and depending on what walk of life they're at and what kind of care they have, that's gonna depend on the kid. And so, like I said in my journey, my back was against the wall because I didn't want to be in debt like my sister for all these different years. So you either pick up a ball and you figure it out, or you know what I mean. So that's kind of the thing. They got to figure it out, right? They got to figure it out. But as much as you teachers and you counselors and you aunties and uncles that are there, and you see encourage them, love them, encourage them to just do better.
Next question. How special was it for you to have the very first true All-American place kicker at the Tokyo Toe?
Yeah. He is such a great individual, a great person. He comes to us and it literally, Coach Sheffield, our special team coach, goes, "Hey, I got a Japanese kicker." I'm like, "What do you mean you got a Japanese kicker?" He's like, I go, "Where's he at?" He goes, "He's in the middle of Missouri." I go, "In the middle? How did he skip us to get to Missouri?" And he goes, "Well, he went to a junior college out there." I go, "Okay." He goes, "He's gonna stop on the way in to go back home, and we're looking to walk him on." And I was like, "Okay, well, let's while he's here, have him stop at the school. We'll meet him and say hello, and we'll get introduced." And so we met him. He spoke. He spoke broken English. I didn't know anything about him learning on YouTube and all this stuff yet. But it was he kicked well enough to be a walk-on here and a walk-on at another FBS school. And so after he met us, he chose us. And during the process, I told him, as he got here, he got to us, there was already another kicker in front of him, Shipley. And so I said to him, I said, hey, if you win the job, I'll give you a scholarship. So he said, okay, coach. And the rest was history. Let me tell you a story, okay? Before he kicked all those field goals in a row and became an All-American, while we were in training camp, right before we started the season, okay, he missed we had a competition at the end of practice. So the offense got to draft, they won this competition. They got to draft the first kicker, the kicker they wanted, and then the defense lost it, so they got to get the second kicker. So of course the offense, they take Tokyo toe. And so they have a competition. We're on the right hash kicking 50-yard field goals. And it's for the win. And Kansei missed 3 in a row that day. And that was 2 weeks before Stanford. And what happened is that, talk about mindset, very powerful. Coach Chef went to him, I went to him, and I said, that doesn't define you. Don't worry, you're gonna be fine. And you just keep working. So we worked with the holder. The holder was a quarterback. We got the snapper and the holder to make sure that they were present. And what he actually did some sports psychology stuff. So that sports psychology stuff, it really does help, because he got him and the punter Billy Gowers, who's at Indiana right now. They got to continue to grow within that sports psychology, build confidence, and so the rest is history, man. It breaks my heart that he missed that last one at Utah State. But what an unbelievable story. I didn't get to enjoy him as much because we're just figuring out a way to win every week, right? You got 12 battles, they come at you every week. And you're just in it, and you're just figuring it out. But as I stepped back and realized how special he was and what we had, I mean, what a story for himself and for Hawaii and University of Hawaii and the state of Hawaii.
All right, Sherry, I think this one's for you. So there's a lot of Wahine here tonight.
Yeah.
How can we make football more accessible to women? I know you talked about the Sisterhood Social, but is there anything else that you're doing to help bring women in, both of you guys?
I think was our main way of getting the women involved, was through the Sisterhood Social. And like I said, a lot of them are buying tickets and season ticket holder now. And we actually usually, with every participant that comes to Sisterhood Social, we designate a game during the season, and we have a whole section for the sisterhood, so they all kind of come to one game and enjoy it together with their families and stuff. And so we try to make it special for them in that way. I think you guys all need to come down. And Ryan doesn't speak about this, but we also have another event right after. This is for everybody else. We have a Brotherhood Ball event, which happens the week after Sisterhood, and that's, Jerry attended last year. That's more of a sit-down gala kind of type event, but that was our first year last year, and so that's another way. I mean, there's so many things that we want to do, and maybe bring it out here on, in Hilo or all the other islands, and bring the Sisterhood Social out here and get everybody engaged. But that's something we've been talking about in the youth camps and stuff. So hopefully we can get that rolling and get everybody involved.
Yeah, it's amazing what you guys are doing. We'll definitely bring some stuff to Hilo. Back to football. So what defense do you run, and what's the bread and butter?
Oh, Coach Dennis Thurman's defense. I don't know, there might be too much cameras on top of this stage right now. Coach Thurman is very simple in what he teaches and what he does. He'll look at an opponent, and he'll break you down, and the main emphasis is always to stop the run. Right? When you stop the run, you put them in a predicament. Now they got to go throw. He's coached, one of his guys is right here, sitting right here. But he has coached some of the most amazing defensive players that ever walked the face of this earth. From Ray Lewis to Ed Reed, you can see it in the style of play from those guys, like Peter Manuma at safety. As they roam around, as they're in the box, they're making plays on the ball, they're flying around. Very aggressive, but you know, it's a defense where, you know, the players can play fast, but the objective is always to stop the run first.
All right, thank you for that, Timmy. What is the best piece of advice that you have gotten as a player and a coach?
Ooh, man, I've had a lot of mentors. I would say, you know, being humble, be humble, be very respectful, respect the game, respect the people, and more importantly, it doesn't go into just one person. There's a family behind it. You know, I can't thank my wife enough. I mean, even, you know, as we take our journey now, you know, it takes a village, you know, to do everything. And so, just very grateful for everybody around, and just being humble.
All right, what is the best book you have read that has impacted your coaching philosophy?
Man, somebody put through a layup for me. That's pretty good, because I you know, I have an executive coach. He was on the midweek a little while ago. His name is Rusty Komori. Rusty Komori won 22 tennis state championships at Punahou in a row. 22 seasons, 22 state championships. Now he's executive coach, you know, for CEOs and you know, prominent business guys, and he talks about leadership. He talks about he talks to companies and Fortune 500 companies, and so he wrote a couple books called, and the one that, you know, the one I love is Superior. So if you guys ever get a copy, go read that thing. But there's a lot of philosophies on what we talk about that come from that book, and so he's a guy that I meet with, you know, every week, and we just talk about philosophy. I think I'm his favorite client, because everybody else, they're all businessmen, and I know that when we talk, it's like a connection because it's sports, but you know, it's about standards and being very simple and being very clear on what your vision is, and making sure it's communicated effectively, and then it goes from me down to my coaches, down to the players, and if you got something in alignment like that, you know, good things can start to happen. But very process driven rather than results driven. And so it's really good. And so I would say this though, you know, there's so many good, and I'm not a book reader, but there's so many good books, and everybody's putting their life story in there. But you know, I think you just got to fall on something that you believe in and follow it and stick to it, and the things will happen.
All right, thanks for sharing, Timmy. I think we're out of questions, so we're going to conclude this segment. We're going to bring Pat back up as the MC. And, you know, we still got till 8 o'clock, so, sorry, question back there?
Dovetail on Coach Thurman. When you're recruiting recruits for the defense, how much of a draw is it for them to play under Coach Thurman, given his stature nationwide?
Yeah, the question is, what for recruiting, when you have Coach Thurman, how does it play into a factor on his stature? Unbelievable. It says a lot. You know, I think I got 2 African American coaches, 2 Popolo coaches. One being my best friend. I don't know if he counts. He's like half Okinawan. You know what I mean? You know, but Coach Dennis, you know, he doesn't want. He just turned 70. He just turned 70, and he's an old soul, and I love him to death. And he just shoots it straight. He shoots it straight to all of us, you know, to the coaches, to the guys, and you know, he gives a lot of autonomy. But you know, to recruits, he's special. I mean, when you can talk about coaching Ed Reed and coaching Darrell Rivas, you know, they named the damn island after the guy, you know, and so, you know, it says something to these recruits and what they're getting coached by. And so we do really well in that recruiting department when it comes to corners and safeties and those type of things. Yep.
Okay, sorry, one more question. How can or does UH encourage local kids to stay or return to Hawaii to make an impact on the community?
Yeah, that's a good question. I truly believe this. I think, and I told Peter Manuma this, because Manuma stayed here for 4 years, played his 4 years here, and then he went to go train in Texas for 3 months, and then he just recently came back home. And I told Peter this, I said, at some point I stayed home to play, you stayed home to play, but at some point we have to leave the island just to see what's out there. Yeah, just to see what's out there, because, we get into our, we get into our own ways here, and we just don't know what's out there. And it could be better, could be not. But, I say this to recruits as well, like, you'll know in your heart if you want to defend this island or you want to go play somewhere else. And it's okay if you want to go somewhere else. But it just so happens if you do want to come home and the timing is right, then we'd love to have you back, And so that's just being really straightforward and honest with recruits.
And on that note too, we also created like a kids clothing line called the Cakey Hood, and that was the reason for us. It actually started with our kids. We have 5 kids, and so I watch them. I see the game through their eyes now and the game day experience. And only in Hawaii, like, they get to come to these games. They run around on the stadium, free and wild, And we created this clothing line just to connect the kids around the island to UH athletics. And so for us, it's like, our kids bring their friends, and then I watch them become fans at such a young age and want to grow up and be a warrior. And so I think for us to be able to keep kids home in the future is to just embed it in them as a young kids and fall in love with these players, get to know them, and want to be a warrior one day. And so that's why the Cake Kid was created as well.
All right, well, Timmy and Sherry, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you
for
Thank
spending
you.
time with us. I know you guys will be around to 8 o'clock. We'll bring Pat back up, but you guys feel free to stop by and keep talking to them. We'll have time to mingle at the end.
Okay.